Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this special session. This deals with two topics. Actually, the topic basically is the projects and how to handle them. We have two projects in here, and I'm going to go in detail. And I would love for you guys to go through each project and make a decision based on which one you would want to submit. Because I know I mentioned before, you are not required to submit both projects. You are only required to submit one of them. But out of fairness for yourself, it's a good idea that you give it a fair shake in a sense that you look at both of them and see which project would work for you. At some point, I'm going to follow up with a survey, basically asking you to tell me which project you would want me to grade, especially if you're going to submit two of them. I don't recommend that because it's a little bit confusing for both of us. So I'd rather have you submit one of the two projects, and that way it's clear that this is the one that you wanted to be graded. Both of them have similar grades. Both of them will have the same absolute effect on your grade. But depending on how you're going to approach these projects, you may decide one versus the other. Okay. For fun, you may want to do both actually, because both of them are actually, you will learn things from them, and actually they will bring you together with other people that you have in contact with, either family or friends and things like that, or classmates, and you can actually do the observations and things of this nature. So let me share with you the screen, first of all, to see how these projects are. They are not due today. They are not due in March. They are due in April, April 12th, when they are due. Okay, so I have plenty of time to think them over. But one of them actually both of them are actually timed, but one of them is actually critical in the sense that there are some specific dates in March that you should not skip if you were going to do it. And that is the lunar observation. It spans a 4-week cycle, meaning every week I go 2 times a week, one to spot the moon and one to do the actual observations for basically 4 weeks. Okay, 4 weeks, 2 times 4. So you're looking at an 8-week basically outings. Okay, out of those outings, when you go out, either at night or early in the morning, you may encounter an issue in terms of the sky. For example, there is weather, there is clouds, there are clouds. So in that case, that's going to hinder your observation. All you need to do is make sure you follow up with the next day observation and potentially even a third day observation to finalize that this was a failure in a sense that there were clouds all 3 days, so I couldn't see the moon. But other than that, you have your observations for basically 4 weeks. Okay, you document all of your observations. Then at the end of the fourth week, you sit down and you start to compose your project. That is option one. Option two is to take the other project, which is the photography, and that one will require only one night observation. And it's an extended observation as opposed to the other ones, which are short observations. In a sense, you should not spend a lot of time on the one that spans over a 4-week cycle, like I said, 4-week period, as I said, but rather an extended period for that one. So you really have to look for the moon on a given night, and I'm going to tell you which night that should be. I mean, at least in terms of how the moon should look like, and document all of your observation, answer all the questions basically in the project, and then go and compose your project and submit it. So those are the two different projects. So one of them is lunar observation to spot the moon for 4 weeks to determine its shape, its position in the sky, and report at the end. And the other one, it's a one night basically observation of the moon where you answer all the relevant questions and you take a photo, you take a picture of the moon, okay? And then you submit the picture also. The other one, you don't need to submit any picture. I mean, you have to do some hand drawing, but that's about it. Okay, so let me share with you the screen. Share course module. Obviously, I have two classes joined together because they're the same projects. So the format may look slightly different than yours, but it's the same content. What I'm looking for is the lunar object For astronomy section 70, it's on week 5. For astronomy section 71 is on week 2. Okay. The other thing I'm looking for also is the lunar photography project for astronomy section 70, that is on week 7. For astronomy on section 71, that's week 3. Okay. So the content is absolutely the same. So if I click on one, it gives me the instruction and it may look similar. It may look like maybe it's like a deja vu. For one thing, the number of points is slightly off. It doesn't mean much at all because your grade at the end is going to be off of a percentile. So if you get everything correct, you get 100%, whether you get 32 or 34. It doesn't make any difference whatsoever. If you make one mistake here and there, then you know how it's going to be graded because there is a rubric on the bottom. So you know if you dropped a point in here, this is out of 5 points, okay? And this is out of 3 points and so on and so forth, okay? So there is a rubric in here how everything is graded. So that is one thing. The instructions look similar, especially this warning in here in red, okay? Which I hope that you guys pay attention to. So let me go to the other one, okay? Let me go and look at the other one just to see, compare the two. Okay, so let me go to the other one. So this is the observation, and that is due on April 12th at 11 p.m. It's going to be a Friday. So let me move back to where I came from and look at the photography. It's in here. So I'm going to click on it. It has the same warning, okay? The number of points in here, 32 points. And it's also due on April 11th, April 12th at 11 p.m. So if I move back down in here, it has a little bit different instructions, but it's mainly the same thing in here when it comes to the first sentence. And it has different requirements in here. It has this photograph at the end in here, which I'm going to talk about. And it has a different rubric. And at the end, the grades are actually going to be out of 32 instead of 34. Okay, so that's going to be, and that is irrelevant. Okay. So the mere fact we get 34 or we get 32, it's going to be 100% either case. Okay. So that is one thing. So you're not required to do both. I cannot emphasize that enough. Okay. You are encouraged to do both on your own. Okay. But submit one for grading, one of them only for grading. So if you have the time and if you have basically the resources, why not do both? It's actually going to benefit you more. Okay. But focus on one of them. Focus on one of them for grading. Okay. How am I going to focus on one of them for grading? I go all the way to the bottom, skip everything for right now and just go to the bottom. And make sure I have everything in here and go down through it one by one. Okay. If I have done them all correctly, then I got my full points in here. Okay. What does this warning mean? It means that if I were to use the form, because there are some options in here on how you submit your lab report. Your lab report, your assignment, okay? Let me go to how you submit it, okay? In the bottom, it should tell you the options on how you submit it. You can submit it as plain text, okay? And then attach the pictures because you will have some pictures also added to it. You will basically record yourself. Media in here, you do a video and you record, and you can actually show the picture, show everything else, but pause, please. Don't, okay, here is a picture I took, half a second, and then you move. And it's going to be hard for me to see what you did. So you can do the whole thing via video if you want to. And you can actually upload a document. This is what I mean by upload a document is you can use your own Word document if you want to, or you can use this form. You're not required to do it. If it doesn't work for you, you are required to submit a report though. So if this does not work for you, you are still either going to do a Word document, fill out the answers, or do a video. So you are still required to submit your report. Going to talk about this form in here quickly. Okay, so the first step in here is to download it on your computer. If you click on it, it's going to open. You should not click on it. It says in here, in red, you must download first before filling it. So I'm going to download it. There is an arrow in here that you see. I'm going to click on the arrow. My browser tell me save the file as. So I'm going to save it as, and then browse on my hard drive where to put it. Probably put it on your desktop so that it's easy for you to find. I already downloaded it. It's in here, photography form. Okay, it's the same file. So this is the photography. Now, if I go back to the other one, we go back to it, it's the observation. In terms of this step, it's identical. Again, if I click on it, it's going to open. Okay, and it says in here, please choose either this one or the other one, okay, but not both. Anyway, so if I click on it here, it's going to be similar. It's going to give me save as option, and it's called moon phases form. It's the name is, it has to do with the lunar phases. Okay, so it's this form. So I downloaded both of them on hard drive. I downloaded them actually so that to see exactly how they look like, because this one has some high resolution pictures, is slightly bigger. But 1 meg is not that big, really. Okay, when you think about it, 1 meg downloads just like that, even now with the slowest internet there is. Okay, so this is not a big thing. So let me cancel out because I already have downloaded them. And please read the instructions. The instructions are really similar to what's going on in the PDF in the forms themselves. Okay, you have these dates for the lunar observation, and you have to answer all of these questions, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to go a little bit more detailed with them, and you go through the rubric and you're done. Again, we saw this stuff earlier when we were looking at the photography. It's identical when it comes to this one. So if I click on text, Canvas opens up a window for me where I'm going to say question 1. Here is my answer. Oops, I did not. Sorry. Question 1, I meant to say here is my answer. Okay. Question 2. So in here I have to really be specific, okay, so that I know, okay, because I may skip question 2 because I didn't do it. Actually, I need to answer question 3. So here is a question 3 and the answer to it, okay? The summary, here are the answers to it. Because if I look at the rubric, it's saying all of these things. So observation 4, here is my answer to it. It didn't call it summary, called it conclusion. So I'm going to call it conclusion, similar, so that I know where I am at. Obviously, these are not the only parts of it, but the point in here, I'm trying to show you, you can still do a text and you start filling it. Okay, ignore the form, ignore what I'm saying. Or I have not tried it. So if this does not work, so because I'm using the camera, I'm gonna click in here on media, and if I do, I may have an issue. So hopefully you guys don't stick around, don't go, okay? So let me try to click on it. It says two options, either upload a media, meaning you pre-record it already on your phone or whatever, and then you upload it to Canvas, or you record it live. Okay, if your computer has or you're doing it from your phone, you can actually record it on your phone directly. If you have access to the app, to the Canvas on your phone, you can actually click on it, and then it will take you, start recording and start showing your design, showing your answers, explaining what you're talking about, getting to the conclusion and be done with it. Please try to keep the video short. If you see yourself putting a half an hour video, that is way too long. Okay, 10-minute video will be ideal. Less than 10-minute video that summarizes everything will be perfect. Okay, anytime the video extends to past these times, you may need to review it again. You may need to shorten parts of it. You have a picture, show it. Okay, here is the picture that I took. This is how it looks like. This is what I was talking about, and so on and so forth. Okay. If I click on it, it may kick me out of Zoom. Hopefully it doesn't. Okay. So if it does, please stick around. Okay. Don't leave. Okay. So it's loading and it's giving me a message in here. The audio is recording apparently. And let me see if I start recording. I don't want to start recording. Let me check in here. And it's looking for cameras on my phone. It's actually this camera that I'm using right now. I don't want to do it right now, but hopefully you guys have the means to do it. Because the reason why I'm kind of not trying to do it right now is because I don't want to lose our Zoom session because it's going to use the camera that I'm using for Zoom right now. So I'm going to cancel out of it. The third option is to upload. So if I do an upload, it's going to either drag a file and upload it in here, or click in here to upload. So if I click in here, it's going to go into my hard drive and start looking for stuff. I'm in Astronomy 120, go to my Zoom session and find this form in here after I fill it, and then I upload it, and then done. Okay. So you have options. You don't have to do all of them. You don't have to do this, this, and this in the same time. I'm just giving you choices. Choose one. You may need to combine though. You may need to do the text, but then your photography is also required, so you need to upload the picture to support your document if you do the text. Other than that, for the other two, you don't need to do that. Only one deal will take you there. So this is true for both projects. I know I took it from the Lunar observation project, but this is identical. So if I go back to the photography, just for to make sure that you guys did not miss that point when I was there. So if I go to the photography, and if I'm interested trying to submit my report, I'll browse all the way down, and it's the same thing. I don't know what this Compass Studio is. It's probably some sort of a video editing stuff with it too. More. I can do other things too. Please don't give me something that I can't upload in here, okay? I can't see because you're going to be graded on it. My recommendation for you, honestly, either the media or the file upload. Because the text, you'll be required to do something else too. I gave you that option just in case things don't work your way at all, and you have all kinds of problems. At least you submit the text and you can email me the picture or do something to it later on. I'm hoping to have it all constrained in one environment so that we have everything graded. So the video will work as long as it's not too long, as long as it's like 6 minutes, 10 minutes at most. The video would work perfect. File upload, I'm going to talk about that. Okay. Are we clear so far? For those who are here? Everybody is with me? I'm in. Oh, you have the chat. Probably. I'm sorry, I didn't see the chat. Yes, very good. Thank you very much. Okay. The thing is, I have two screens. I was looking at that screen to see if something pops up in there. Thank you very much, guys. Anyway, the point is, I already downloaded the instructions. So I'm going to go on both of them and see what's going on. So I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to open my folder, and I'm going to open both files. This is one and this is two. And I will tell you the wisdom why also you need to download it. Download them and not open them on the browser. So let me share now. Share the, not screen two. I want the Lunar project. Okay, the Lunar project. The I don't mean the photography. Why is it giving me the photography? Not there. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get to the PDF. Okay, good. So the PDF. Are you guys looking at more photography on a PDF file, not on the browser? Okay, very good. Thank you, Kay. Anyway, the point being in here is if you open it on a browser, not the PDF. So you really need a PDF. You cannot use the browser. That's why there is that warning in red. Download it on your computer first. The trouble is, if you download it on your computer first, you may, especially if you have a Chromebook, if you don't have a Mac or a Windows, you may the Chromebook may default to open it with the browser, in which case you will have a problem. Okay. And let me tell you exactly what that problem is. So I'm going to go back to it. So I'm going to open it also with a browser and be ready to come back to it to see the difference between the two. Okay. And the difference I want you to pay attention to is actually, if I go down, everything should be the same. So if I'm filling my report, my name is DJ. So I'm going to put my name in here. And look what happened. If I put my name in here, all I did is I put it on the first page, okay? All I did was put it on the first page. It filled it on the second, the third, and the fourth, and everything else. So I really don't need to do it anymore, okay? The reason why it's called fillable file is because I can start filling the stuff in it. I can do it instead of having to go and write my own document. I go through the instructions, and as I'm going through the instructions, I can fill it, okay? I have a question in here, so I can start answering in here, okay? Note that this is actually a rich text format, meaning that if I make a mistake, for example, it should tell me that you did write it wrong because I had two R's in here, okay? So take advantage of that. Make sure that your writing is actually spelled correctly at least, and everything is fine, okay? Then I answered this was a PM, the observation date, when did I do it? I have a nice date picker in here, meaning I did this actually sometime next 2 weeks. I did it actually on the 14th of March, okay? At 7:12, for example, PM. Oops, 7:12 PM, okay? And I'm done with that. So I continue answering in here as I am going along, okay? I want you to pay attention to this one. I'm supposed to upload a picture, okay? So I'm going to click on it and browse my computer and try to find a picture. Here's a picture I took, okay? This is not the moon, of course. This is not the picture I took, but hopefully you guys see. My point is, as long as I can find a picture, the one that I took, I like this one better, okay? If I click on it, and say okay, then it's saved in here. See how nice it is? As long as you have the picture on your computer, you can browse to it and you're done. Actually, you can complete the whole assignment later on, answer all the questions, okay? And I'm going to talk about this part in it. Let me just, as contrast, let me just try to go back. Let me stop sharing this. And let's say I made a mistake of either opening it in a browser, like a Chrome or Explorer, or whatever browser I have, Mozilla or whatever browser. And now I would want to actually go and let me first of all see where it is. It's in here. And let me see now if I can go and try to fill it, do the same thing like I did before, like I did it on PDF. So it's going to be on this one. So now I have it actually open in the browser. It still gives me a field in here that I probably could edit. Actually, I couldn't. Okay, it's not even letting me put my name in here. Okay, so the option in here is to download, still download, okay? So there are fields in here that apparently some browsers will allow me to edit it and others would not. But most of them, they will fail when it comes to picture, if not all of them. So in other words, basically, once it comes to that, I really have to send the picture. If I don't have Adobe already installed, which is a free software, Adobe Reader. So if you have a Mac or a Windows, you really have no problem. You shouldn't really have any difficulty whatsoever in filling that form with a proper Adobe Reader. And it's a free software that you can have from Adobe itself. Don't get it from somewhere else. And you can have your form filled and you'll be done with it, okay? Now, if you have a Chromebook or you can't really use it on there because the computer, you don't have admin credentials in it because you can't install those things. So what should you do? In this case, use your browser, Most of the browsers now, they actually let you fill it. I think there is an issue because I'm logged in as a test student still in here. Because I know this one allowed me earlier to open it with a browser, regular browser, and I was able to edit everything except the image. It did not allow me. So when I clicked on it, nothing happened. So it did not allow me to upload an image. That's why that warning was to download the image first, to download the form first, and then use it from Acrobat, from Adobe. Okay. Then, first of all, for one thing, all the fields that needs to be filled are already marked to be filled. Okay. And including the pictures, I have answered everything, and I'm done with this project. Then at the end, most browsers now, most PDF now, they save it. And if it's not saved, please make sure it's saved. Okay. There is a save button in here, so you click on it. Granted, this is not the free version that I am using, but the free version should have not much difference than this one when it comes to editing a PDF that you can edit, like this one, which is called the fillable form. Okay, this is this part. Let me share with you the other one. Do you guys see the moon phases? I have them both opened on the same Acrobat. Do you see the second one open? Because I just switched tabs. Okay, very good. Thank you, Madison. Anyway, so the same thing for the other one. I put my name in here, and it should propagate for the others if I hit enter. It should propagate to all the others, okay? And it's a similar stuff in here, okay? I'm supposed to have done observations on given dates. Here is the date around March 11th, not exactly on March 11th. So it could have been March 11th. So if it's March 11th, it's March 11th. Okay. It's March 11th. What time though? And so on and so forth. Okay. The point being in here, it's fillable. The images are not going to be photographs now. They're going to be hand drawn. So you can use your favorite hand drawing device, like for example, Paint, if you know how to use Paint, or actually you can take a piece of paper and draw the shape of the moon. Let me draw a better shape. Okay, that's a bad shape. And this is how the moon look like. And then scan the image. Okay, scan the image. In other words, you don't have to be fancy. That's my point. Okay, scan the image or take a picture of it and upload it. So you don't have to go through trouble of spend how long? Probably 20 seconds or less drawing this shape. So it doesn't have to be too fancy. You don't have to waste a lot of time on Paint, and especially something that you've not used before in the past. So it may be a little bit, no. For this ones, you're not required to take pictures. As a matter of fact, don't take pictures, because pictures will just ruin this. So this is for your observations, how the moon looked like when you saw it, how the moon looked like when you saw it on the other date, March 18th, around March 18th, around March 25th, and around April 1st, and of course your conclusion. Now, there are some more drawings for this one actually. So let's get into detail so that you understand the difference between the two projects. Now that's probably what you're here too. Okay. So for this project, we're tracking the moon over a whole cycle as it goes around the Earth, which is lunar month, about 30 days basically. Okay. So what you're given in here is the first question. Of course, hopefully you guys read through it and understand part of the stuff that is actually in the book, and part of the stuff that's actually taken from the book too. You're given an assignment in here, what phase it is. So you're given a picture of the moon, you're given the position of the sun, you're given the Earth, and you're supposed to tell me, would this correspond to position A, or would this correspond to position B, or would this correspond to position C, or D, or E? Okay, in other words, are we looking at the moon basically looks like it's a crescent, so that you know. Okay, is this crescent waning or waxing or waning? Are we at the beginning of the lunar month or toward the end of the lunar month? Just by the position of sun, you should be able to tell. Okay. Then you're going to answer the question, and here it's asking you, would this correspond to position A, B, C, or D, or E? So you're going to answer this one and try to explain why do you think that is, okay? Then, since you chose a position, I'm not saying this is the correct answer, but I'm telling, or the wrong answer for that matter. If you think this is the correct answer, that's your thinking. I'm not trying to influence you one way or the other. I'm hoping that you read through it. You can have a discussion with your peers. You can consult resources if you want to. This is not an exam. This is for you to learn basically the different positions. And hopefully, as you go observe the moon for at least a whole month, you will know practically what that means. Okay. So I'm saying, let's say, I think it's position C. I may be right, I may be wrong. Okay. Your opinion may be different. Okay. So I answered C in here. If I answered C in here, that means I'm left with position A, B, D, and E. So I come in here and say position A, this is how the moon would look like, okay? Then I draw it, and this is how it looks like. That's why I didn't pick A, okay? Picked C in here, okay? And B, this is how the moon would look like. Again, I'm supposed to draw it, just like I did sketch it earlier. And it's a sketch, it's not really a picture. Please don't Google some stuff and bring them from pictures from Google or something. I want you really to do that stuff, those things, okay? Sketch them yourself. And this is what position B is. Of course, I thought this is position C, okay? I may be wrong on that, but this is what I think, okay? Therefore, position D, I'm gonna come in here and say position D look like this, okay? And then sketch it and submit it. Finally, I left position E, so I need to come in here and think that this is how E would look like, okay? Again, this is not necessarily the correct answer. You need to think about it, okay? Then move on to the next question. This is the actual observations, okay? You have 4 weeks, and the dates that are proposed for this year are March 11th through April 1st, every week, okay? They're Mondays, actually. So that means the day before, March 10th, I have to go out and look at the moon. Where is it, the moon? Okay, just to document where the things are, okay? Is it in the east? Is it in the west? You just after the sun sets, sun rises, or I'm sorry, what am I talking? Yeah, in the morning, because I saw it in the morning after the sun, before the sun rises, it's in the east. Or after the sun sets, I see the moon. So one of the two, okay? Or actually, it's in the middle of the sky. I saw it at 10 p.m. and it's right in the middle of the sky. So I know what to look for the day after. I need to document that initial observation though. The reason why is because on the 11th, it may be cloudy. I can't see it. So I'm gonna fall back on my observations on March 10th and change this one to March 10th instead, okay? And this is when I did the observation at 10:21 p.m., okay? Then try to describe the shape of the moon. You don't have to be scientific with it. In here, try to go and refer exactly to that phase. Is it a waning gibbous? Is it a waxing gibbous? Is it a first quarter? Is it the third quarter? Is it a full moon? Is it a new moon? Try to give it a name, okay? Try to exactly name that phase, okay? And sketch it and upload it, as I was saying. You don't have to draw it. Sketch that one, basically what you're talking about in here, and upload it in here, similar to the other. Repeat the process a week later. Now, let's say, for example, on March 10th, I looked at the moon, I didn't find it, or it was cloudy. March 11th, I looked at the moon, I didn't find it, or it was cloudy. March 12th, I looked at the moon, I didn't find the moon either, and it's cloudy. There are two possibilities. Either all 3 nights are cloudy, in which case I'm going to report that stuff in here. The weather did not allow me to see the moon at all. Or one of those nights, or all 3 nights, were actually were clear. One night will be enough for all of them. Then in that case, there is a phase in here that might correspond to that situation that I need to refer to it in here. Maybe you are in that phase, okay? The moon doesn't I didn't see it. Okay, so we're going to draw a big circle with all shaded. Okay, that's why you couldn't see it. So that's the possibility. The other thing also, it's not always at night. I mentioned earlier, it could be in the morning too. Okay, you could go, you go a couple of times at night, then you go to sleep, you wake up in the morning, the moon is there. 6 p.m. I mean 6 a.m., 7 a.m. The moon is actually in the sky. So it doesn't have to be at night. It's not all at night. Then a week later, you repeat the process. A week after, you repeat the process. The final week, you repeat the process. Obviously, you document those on a piece of paper or on your notebook. And then when it comes time to put together, you come to this form and you submit it. Okay. Finally, you draw your conclusion based on your observations. If you missed any nights, if there are nights that you didn't see the moon, and if all of this correspond to the proper phases is documented and you have a full cycle. Let's say you started for a full moon, you should go back to a full moon. If you started from a new moon, you should go back to a new moon. If you started from a first quarter, you should go back all the way back to a first quarter, and so on and so forth. If you started from a gibbous, waxing gibbous, you're going to go all full cycle and come back to a waxing gibbous. So you need to document those things in your observations. And basically, if you are into some difficulties, the issue, for example, going out at night and things like that, that's something that you can mention. Especially if you have light pollutions in your environment, you can mention it. You're not required to go out of your way to this project. You're just going to use your means, whatever is accessible to you, and basically take care of it. Okay? Hopefully, this is clear. Okay? So this, the purpose of which is that you go out and you do your observations for a whole month. Sounds good, everybody? Yes? Very good. Thank you, Robin. Anyway, we're going to move on to the other one. Okay, so this should answer. If you have any difficulty or if you have questions, please don't hesitate to send them over. But if you're planning on doing this one, which is a lot of fun, don't forget those dates. Those dates are critical for your observations. Don't miss them. Okay? Now let's move on to the other one. The other one is slightly different. It takes the moon in one night. Okay, not 4 weeks. Okay, one night. It's an extended observation, though. You need a camera of some sort. Okay, I'm going to talk about what is required for that camera. Obviously, this is the new moon. The sun sets, the moon is just around it. Okay, and then later on day 2, the moon is seen in the west with a crescent that is increasing. That's what is a waxing crescent means. It's an increasing crescent. Day 4, it's still a crescent that is even bigger than day 2. Day 8, which is a week old, now you're looking at a quarter moon, the first quarter. Now it's a gibbous that's still increasing in size, so it's a waxing gibbous. Now the sun sets, the moon rises in the west, and it stays the entire night. This is a full moon. On the day 15, it's still when the sun rises, the moon is still setting on the other. So you're looking at 6 o'clock in the morning, the moon is on the west, is about to go down. So that's the second half of the month. And now it's a gibbous, but it's shrinking in size. The sun is the moon, the lit part of the sun, the moon is always facing the sun. Whether in the beginning of the month, the sun sets and the moon is on following it, or in the toward the second part of the month, the moon is setting and the sun is rising. Okay, so that's a distinction between them. And the lit part now is facing west. I mean, facing east in the second part, and the first part is facing west. Okay, so that's how you could tell. Answer all of these questions. Full moon versus new moon. Okay, what's the difference between them? And then you do your observations. So you take a night, okay, and you go and look at the moon. And you're going to spend as much time as possible, okay? You're going to tell me the phase of the moon that is in there. Please don't choose a full moon. It's going to ruin your observation in here. What I'm looking for is either a quarter moon, meaning not this phase, not day 15 or day 16 or any of those 2 days, okay? Try to be around the 11th, the 8th, the 4th is good, the 19th, the 22nd. So any of those phases is good. The new moon, of course, you're not going to see it. Okay? It's not there. So try to choose a phase where the line that terminates the lit part to the non-lit part of the moon, which is called the terminator, is somewhere in the middle, so that you can answer the next questions. Okay. So the non-lit part, were you able to see any parts of it? Because as the light from the sun hits the earth, it reflects back on the moon. So we may be able to see even the dark part of the shaded area of the moon. Okay. So you may see some features on it. Obviously, you're supposed to use a camera to take a picture of the moon. So this is a picture with a camera of the moon. And when you try to take it, please use a something with a little bit of long exposure. So if you have an iPhone or try to set the exposure to a little bit longer so that it stays open to collect as much light. Although the moonlight is going to ruin that. So in other words, take several pictures and see which one shows some features of the moon. Okay. Obviously, you're looking at it with your own eyes. So when you look at the moon, remember the following features of the moon. Okay. The biggest probably thing that you're not going to miss on the bottom is the Tycho crater. Okay. And then whatever other features that you can identify from the picture, obviously, if I'm looking at a gibbous, a waning gibbous, so it's most of the, I'm sorry, waxing gibbous, or even a waning gibbous, if it's a big one. So, and the other, what I'm looking at is a lot of features of the moon. Okay. So I try to identify as many features that I can see with my eye. Don't refer to the picture. Okay. If the picture most of the time will capture the big features, but what you see with your own eye, try to identify them. Okay. Try to see all of the features that you saw with your own eyes. You have this chart. This is actually coming from this website. Okay. From Wikipedia. So if you can go back to Wikipedia and refer to all of these features, try to see as much possible, as many craters, Kepler crater, whatever other things that you can see, and the different Marias of the moon, all of these things. And then, as I was saying, report those in your answers, whatever you saw in here, okay? This is from here for the non-letters, you're trying to answer if you can see something off of it or not. Okay. Obviously, that depends on the position of the Earth versus the Moon because it's the light reflected from the Earth to the Moon. And try to answer the following question: basically, the position of the Moon versus the Sun versus the Earth. Where is it, relatively speaking? You can go back to the picture from the previous project, basically, to answer that part. Are we here? Are we here? Are we here? Are we here? Basically, depending on where we are on this. And in your observation, where do you think the moon is? Okay. So this is the other product. Again, both of them should have their forms. Both of them you can answer based on the forms. You can use them. Hopefully you don't run into some difficulties. I know in the past, some of my students ran into some difficulties, especially filling them out. You have options. You don't need to follow those forms. You can use your own Microsoft Word. Take these files and convert. I gave you actually the PDF files also, the original ones without this fields in them when you're going to fill them. So you can go back and download those and convert them to a Word document and use them if you want to, or create your own Word document if you want to, or any form. At the end, you can just take a video, 6-7 minute video, and you're done with it, as long as you include all the ingredients in the report, meaning because you're going to be graded in a similar fashion. What I recommend then, since you have pictures and you have sketches, please allow for at least half a minute per picture. Okay, 30 seconds. Okay, here is my video. Here is a picture sketch of it. I see the features in here, and then you put it in front of your camera, make sure that it stays exposed for long enough so that they can see it too, and then you move on, okay? Does this answer most of the questions that you guys might have concerning these two projects?
I have a question
Yes.
in reference to identifying the features seen with the eye. Is that acceptable by using binoculars?
Absolutely, yeah. As a matter of fact, I forgot to mention that you can use a telescope if you have access to a telescope. And now the telescope, they have on the eyepiece, they have an adapter where you can actually put the phone. So if you know how to use a telescope with an adapter, go ahead and use it. And the adapter is like $14, $15. And if you are in my Astronomy 125 this week, I'm going to show you how the adapters would look like, just to put them on your telescope. Now, you don't have access to the telescope. You don't need a telescope. You can use binoculars if you want to. They're actually the same thing. So use them. The only trouble with it, if you put them with your hand, they kind of shake a little bit, but you're looking at the moon. The moon doesn't matter really when you look at it for binoculars. It's not going to move that fast compared to, for example, a planet like Jupiter or something like that. So you don't need a tripod for the binoculars to look at the moon with that binoculars. So use them. So any cheap
Yeah.
binoculars, I know that they are all over the place. So use them. They're fine. Okay. The third option, use your own eyes. Actually, it's a beautiful sight just to look at them, look at these features with your own eyes, and you're going to enjoy them for sure, regardless of the report, whether or not you're going to submitted the way that it ought to be or not, you're going to really enjoy that one, and you will never look at the moon or any other celestial object in the same way after these projects.
I have one more question. You had
Yes.
mentioned when and if the moon is not found on one or more than one night, you suggested drawing an all shaded sketch. Is
If
that
granted,
represent
granted, granted that it's a not a cloudy on one of those days. Okay, if it's cloudy on one of those days, you'll basically leave it as a question mark because you have no idea. Okay,
and just
but you can
reporting
fill in.
the
Yeah, you can fill in the gap later on. Let's say, for example, I came from a first quarter to a third quarter, and in between them, I had a problem. So most likely that's a full moon, but I couldn't see it because it was cloudy anyway for 3 days. Okay, but if it's a new moon, like we saw the second one, then you go early, you go very much in the evening. It's very hard to see it if you can see it, then you miss that like an open window of like 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes when it's a new moon. You're not going to see it because it's going to set with the sun. Then the next day is going to be difficult. Maybe if you're lucky, you're going to see a crescent, very small crescent. Okay. So you're going to miss it. Okay. Because the night before it set, so it's going to miss it. So in that case, I know one of those nights is not a cloudy night. It's a good night to see the moon, but I didn't see it. I looked at it in the evening, I looked at it early in the morning, and it's not there. So most likely, if the next phase is going to be the first quarter, that was actually the new moon. So which means it's a circle with a all shaded.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Carrie, for the questions. Anyone else? Well, I'm sure you will have questions down the road, well, especially when you start observing these things. Please send them over. Let's have them basically hammer whatever you guys have and enjoy your projects. Thank you very much. I'm going to stop the recording, okay? Thank you, guys.